June 1942, the Pacific. For days that would decide who ruled the waves. A handful of American carriers and cracked enemy codes stood between defeat and survival. Mistakes, luck and savage courage collided, and history flipped. 6 months after Pearl Harbor, Japan aimed to eliminate U.S. carrier power and expand its defensive perimeter. The target, Midway Atoll, a tiny speck that could lure the U.S. fleet into a trap. But American codebreakers had something Japan didn't know: the plan. They cracked messages that pointed to AF and confirmed it was Midway. On the American side, 3 carriers and a small, determined task force. On the Japanese side, a powerful carrier striking force, more planes, more ships, and confidence. Hidden to the northeast, the U.S. fleet waited for the ambush. Morning of June 4th, the skies over the Pacific erupt. Japanese planes strike Midway's defenses. U.S. land-based bombers counterattack. Torpedo squadrons from the American carriers launch, slow, low, and deadly exposed. We climbed through thick clouds, flak everywhere. Everything felt like a single heartbeat. Then the sky opened. The torpedo squadrons drew the enemy fighters down. A sacrificial, brutal opening that cleared the decks for what came next. At 10:20 a.m., dauntless dive bombers from Enterprise and Yorktown found the Japanese carriers unguarded. They dived from the sun, releasing bombs that tore through decks loaded with fuel and armed planes. Within minutes, 3 Japanese carriers were hit and burning: Akagi, Kaga, Soryu. Later that day, Hiryu 2 would follow them beneath the waves. The balance of naval air power shifted in an instant. By nightfall, the Japanese carrier force was shattered. The U.S., though battered, had seized the initiative. Midway was the turning point not because of a single hero, but because intelligence, timing, and desperate courage met in the same place. A log entry from that day read simply, "All 3 enemy carriers burning." Midway cost Japan irreplaceable carrier pilots and ships. It halted their expansion and gave the Allies the breathing room to go on the offensive across the Pacific. It transformed a war of defense into a war of counterattack. Intelligence wins fights. Code-breaking made the ambush possible. Tactical sacrifice can create strategic openings. The torpedo squadron's losses were terrible but pivotal. Adaptability matters. Commanders who read the moment changed outcomes. For days, a handful of ships, one decisive turn. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe. We dive deeper into the tactics, pilots, and codebreakers behind history's pivotal battles. How 6 codebreakers and a handful of pilots shifted the entire Pacific War. Midway. Courage, chaos, and a single day that changed everything.